Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I'm here, Zachary Rome, wide receiver one, joined by Brian Bruner, our Castle Black, and we are missing a member tonight, hopefully only partially. Mr. Oviedo, Patrick, hopefully will be here soon. He's having a little internet problems, but we'll continue without him, and hopefully he'll join us soon enough. But how you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm doing good, man. Patrick actually has MetLife turf Wi-Fi. It's fucking up, down all the time. No bueno. You try to save a couple bucks, and this is what you get. But no, man, life is good. I am right in the middle of a 12 days off of work run. I'm like 5 days into it, so it's been good, man. Eating, drinking, sleeping, not going to work, dicking around with fantasy football shit left and right. Getting the waiver claims in, writing the waiver article, all that good fun stuff. Putting in 8,000 claims for Kamani Vidal and Son Haskins. It's even in the deepest leagues, man. If not both of those guys are out there. So,
Yep.
Got to do your due diligence on your dynasty teams.
Yeah, no, that 12 days off sounds absolutely amazing. It's been, I can't say it's been too long. I taught for 5-6 years, so I'd have a summer off, which was very nice, but back to a normal working schedule here. But excited to jump in. It was a very interesting week for scoring this week. We had a lot of second week in a row. I think we had a lot of high scoring games, a lot of very interesting, very close matchups. I mean, if anyone was watching the Chiefs Jaguars games live, seeing Trevor Lawrence fall down, oh no, he's going to get sacked. Fall down, oh no, he's going to get sacked. You see a picture, you zoom in, you see Chris Jones literally just scratching himself, just standing there watching Trevor Lawrence on the ground because he's down, and then they score. Like, what?
Dude, the Chris Jones shit was a bad look on him, man. I've been seeing that all over the football TV shows and all over social media, man. He looked like he was just eating a fucking sandwich out there. Zero, even before he fell down, just zero effort. Like, no bueno.
And he was making some amazing plays on Trevor Lawrence earlier, making him scramble, making him run. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's just like, he's good.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if it was just he was that gassed or what, but man, he is definitely not a good look. But I of course had to watch the whole game because almost every week my main league's matchup comes down to something needed on Monday Night Football. My particular one last night is I needed Travis Etienne and Xavier Worthy to stay under 28 total points, and I had a decent enough cushion, but if Travis Etienne would have popped off for like a 20-yard touchdown run on that last drive, it would have ended me. So I had to watch it all the way through. So yeah, thanks.
I lost a matchup by 5 points because of that Trevor Lawrence rushing touchdown. That was painful. I was going in. I was about to beat 2 top 3 teams in a row in a league where I'm rebuilding, and I'm like, that's awesome. I can do this. And then Trevor Lawrence just pulls off a great game, and I can't say I'm sitting pretty. I'm in last place. I'm rebuilding, but it would have been nice to pull off a win for the number 2 and 3 seed 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Well, as we come along, if you have any questions, start, sit, anything we're talking about, any comments, please feel free. We got our first one. We'll do that, and then we'll jump into a couple spotlight players and some interesting contending rebuilding thoughts we got for you today. But our first quick question is, what are you doing with Woody Marks in redraft? A 14-man league and running backs are thin. And Woody Marks 2 weeks ago had a big game, and this last week really didn't do too much. So what are we thinking here?
So he was, obviously the biggest waiver ad of the year probably going into, this time last week. Coming off, I'm just trying to pull up his exact numbers. It wasn't just like a good game. He had a fucking monster game.
I think it was a 30-plus point game that he had. It was huge.
It's obviously not like a cut situation. They're going into their bye, which stinks. So you hate to pick up a guy, have him lay an egg, and then go into a bye week. But there's no way that the Texans are going to ignore, look at that game, see what he did, and just ignore it and say, you know what, we're good. We're just going to ride with Nick Chubb. They were playing the Ravens, who are so decimated with injury on defense.
Yep.
Anybody can just walk up and down the field on them. And, the Texans kind of chose to do it with C.J. Stroud in the passing game, more so than running the ball with Marks. But here we go. So, yeah, he had like a 30-point game. He was like the running back 6 on the week 2 weeks ago. And then this week, 24 rushing yards, no catches, no touchdowns, 4 points, or not even, 3.5 points, something like that. So not ideal, but I'd have to be, especially in a 14, if you're in a 14-team league, there's no way I'm cutting him. There's got to be somebody else on your bench that's less valuable than Woody Marks.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think just because they didn't do so well this past week doesn't mean too much of anything. Like I'm not worried about him. I think again he had a great game, and he's not going to lose snaps now that he really popped off. Then a 14-team league, I'm keeping him on my bench if I can trade someone for him. Just especially if I'm, in the top 4 or 5 teams, if I can trade something to get him, that's hard to pass up trying to do something like that. And I'm just pulling up the Houston schedule to see what other maybe soft defenses they're coming up. There's not amazing matchups coming up for him, but he's got enough that, especially coming off a bye week, I'm not sitting a ton for him, but I'm keeping him, and I like his potential for sure.
So the snap share was still decent too. So like 3 games ago, before he had the explosion game, he was at 48. He had 48% of snaps. He was 56% for that massive game, and he still got 39% of snaps this past week. He's a rookie. They'll tend to get a little bit better as the season goes on. Usually, yeah. Nick Chubb is 1,000 and coming off a pretty catastrophic injury. Yep. Nick Chubb misses any time whatsoever. Woody Marks to the moon, but yep, just kind of stinks that you have to sit on him for a week. And then look at it, glass half full too. His bye week's this week. You're getting that out of the way. You've got Woody Marks for the entire rest of the way through.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's something I just traded Nico Collins straight up for Devon Achane, and then all of a sudden the guy goes, "Oh, crap. I need a wide receiver this week, and Nico Collins is on bye, and I'm there sitting with 8 wide receivers when you can start a max of 5." And I'm like, so you're saying you'll pay up for another one of mine, and trying to get him to make another deal with me to pay up. And I'm like, yeah, kind of know the bye weeks. Know when you're trading for some of these players that if they've had the bye or have it, like you can squeeze out an extra week from some of your players. If your guys, if you're trading for guys who have already had their bye, for guys who haven't, all of a sudden you can get an extra good week out of some of your players to kind of squeeze some little extra out if you need it.
Yep. Free week if you can pull that off.
Yep. So today we'll dive into some spotlight players, and then we are going to talk about contending matchups. Some we have put together for you using our fantasy worksheet on the Fantasyholics website, the top 6 defenses that have given up the most points across all positions, and have put together a list of teams who are facing the majority of those defenses. So you have an idea of what teams, what players, and what teams you want on your team to really contend, especially maybe come playoff time. See what players you should trade for if you need a playoff push, or if you're pretty well set in the playoffs or think you will, what players you should be aiming for that have great matchups in the playoffs. So we'll dive into that after we do a couple spotlight players. And I'll start us off. And I'm going to start spotlight, and hopefully, I apologize if I say the name wrong. I'm terrible with names. Emeka Egbuka. I always say Mbuka, not Egbuka. I'm sorry. Emeka Egbuka.
Just sound it out, brother. It's right on the back.
It's harder than it seems for me. I'll willingly admit that. But I came into the season with my wide receiver model. I'll talk a little bit more about it, or a lot more about it in the off season, probably a little, unless we have a little downtime sometime coming up in the next few weeks. But I came up with a wide receiver model that helps predict the success of wide receivers coming into the NFL. And I'm very confident with the data I put together of I've gone through real quickly wide receivers that had high draft capital and were successful, high draft capital and were not successful, and ones that were diamonds in the rough, and try to figure out what stats help predict their success in the NFL. I feel pretty confident in that data. I'm about 70-80% sure I know how to read that data and interpret it, and I'm still learning a little how to. And that's where Emeka Egbuka kind of slipped through the cracks a little in my model. I had him as a tier 3, meaning I had him as a flex start at your max, and he has blown that out of the water. And when I went back through, I realized I didn't properly run his stats. I do stat adjustments. His junior year, he was injured. His junior year, he wasn't even the wide receiver 1 on his team. So I do stat adjustments if they're not the wide receiver 1 on their team. And I want to spotlight him because he's doing amazing things. Like, he is, what is he, wide receiver? He's easily a top 10 wide receiver 3 on the year.
3, dude. I looked before the show. He's wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and I was coming in. I'm like, I mentioned last week, I hate assuming injuries on players, but with Godwin and Evans, I was like, well, they're going to be healthy. They're going to go. And so I dropped Egbuka down because of that, because, well, he's going to be wide receiver 3, but then he was wide receiver 2 for a couple games. And then he was wide receiver 1 and has been, and Baker loves him. And really the one main stat that he struggled with in mind my model that I dropped him down was his depth of target, except that was just his senior year. His other years, he had amazing depth of target. It was 9.1, I think, his senior year, but it was in the 12 to 13 range his other years. So I'm going to do a review of my model later on, but I wanted to point out, like, he is, wherever you got him in redraft, in Dynasty, he is turning out to be a steal. And I think you brought this up, Ryan. If today we redrafted your Dynasty rookie drafts, how are you not taking him number 1 overall right now?
Yeah, I mean, because look at even Genty finally had his big blow-up game 2 weeks ago. He kind of came right back down to earth this week. It didn't kill you by any means. Genty had like 14, 15 points depending on your scoring. But Egbuka's just smashing. I mean, dude, he's got. I just pulled up his numbers here. It's just in 5 games, he's got 25 catches for 445 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's averaging like 90 yards and a touchdown a game. 5 catches, 90 yards and a touchdown a game. Ridiculous.
Yeah, he's on pace for over 1,500 receiving yards, something like that, his rookie year. Like
17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. He's looked every bit legit. It hasn't been just like 1 or 2 big games and then a couple slow games and he's got a good average. He's just out there doing really well every week. Baker looks like he is just hyper, like looking for him first and everybody else second. Godwin's still just ramping back up from the injury. Mike Evans is out completely. We'll see what happens when, the 3 of them are all healthy. But if he's playing and looking like this, how in God's name is Baker going to go, hey, man, good job, but, let's move you back a couple spots and really stop targeting you. I just don't see it happening, man. Where he went, he was like a 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th round pick in redraft leagues, and he was like clockwork going pick 11, pick 12 to a contending team in rookie drafts had they, if they hung on to their first.
Yeah.
I got him in one of my best ball leagues. I got him at the 201 in a 12-team best ball league.
Reminds me 4 years ago about Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave going in the late first to contending teams, like that player who turns out to be a top wide receiver that no one expected.
Yep.
And I think, if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin comes back, think of it similar to the Chiefs with Travis Kelce. They're going to do load management on them to put them in at crucial times, but your consistency is going to come from Egbuka, whether Evans and Godwin are back healthy or not. Like, I think he's just going to be consistent. If I was to redo my rookie rankings with redoing his stats and really diving a little more into it, Egbuka would have been my wide receiver 2 coming out right behind Ted McMillan. I would have, and those two probably would have been my only two in my tier 1, saying they're top elite talents. And my tier 2 would have had your Travis Hunter, your Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, who is still struggling some, but also like, he's blown even the people who loved him seem to even be blown out of the water by him, which is amazing for the Bucs. Amazing for anyone who has a stock of him.
No one saw this. His mom, his agent, no one. This is unheard of, man. He is torching it. There's no point even trying to buy him. Like, what would you have to give up to get him from somebody at this point? I mean, especially if a rebuilding team has him, they're looking at him like, oh my God, this is now the cornerstone of my rebuild. And if a contending team has him, why in God's name is a contender trading the wide receiver 3 on the year so far? So if you have him, count your blessings. Let's see what happens as these guys get healthy. But he's all that hype week or two before the season was kicking off. Remember, Baker came out and did that interview and was gassing him up, and we're like, oh my God, the hype has gone too far. It wasn't far enough.
Yeah, apparently not. It was, and that's something, again, my wide receiver model I did last year, I live play tested, and I started releasing it this year, and I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good. I wanted to have an against the grain take. I did that with Luther Burden. I did that with Mbuka, and I'm like, okay, I wish I could take that back, but he is props to everyone who called it. And again, I look forward to kind of doing an end of the year review of my model, and then going forward, diving into, like, pretty much as soon as the college season stops is when my wide receiver model is going to come out, first draft, and we'll go from there. And I'm looking forward to it. But he's again, even the people who loved him the most, I don't think saw this. And we'll get our lovely Patrick to dive in a little about this. He is just joining us as we do a little quick live editing. Patrick, how are you doing tonight?
Hey.
Oh, still kind of joining us a little. Again, had some internet problems and is jumping on in, doing a little live editing here. But why don't we, as Patrick's working his way in and through, Brian, why don't you talk to us about your spotlight player of this week?
Yeah, not so much sunshine and roses as Emeka Egbuka. Jameson Williams, man. What's really tough with this one is the Lions' offense is cooking. Despite the week 1 terrible game, they've looked just like the Detroit Lions, man. They're smashing. Amon-Ra's cooking. Goff's having great games. Laporte is even stepping up a little bit now. Both running backs are doing very well. But Jameson Williams, man, he was up there with anybody talked about as one of, like, the industry's favorites for a true breakout this year. Checked all the boxes, you know what I mean? He was a top 10 NFL pick. He dealt with the injury and suspension shit the first, 2 years. Then last year, his first, full healthy year where they gave him a role. He just got past 1,000 yards. He looked great every time he touched the ball. They got him involved. He was just the perfect candidate to have the traditional blow up this year.
Yeah.
And my man is just not. I got all of his stats together. His catch total, 5 games so far. His reception total is 4 week 1, 2, 2, 2, and then 1 catch on Sunday. He had the 1 game in week 2 where he caught the big bomb touchdown. It was 2 catches for 108 and a touchdown. So he finished as, top 10, the wide receiver 10 on the week. Other than that, he's been completely unusable, not even flex worthy.
No.
Wide receiver 61, 55, 62, and 89. And this is a guy that you probably took in the 5th round, 6th round, with all the, the potential, all the, the talk of a blow up season and really truly breaking out. And I just don't know what it is. I mean, I haven't sat down and broke down the Lions tape by any means, but I watch a lot of the games on Sundays, and I just don't. He's on the field a lot. He's running plenty of routes. It's just they're not looking his way. I can't imagine it's the defenses designing schemes to stop him. You know what I mean? When you got Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra out there, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's lost his step. I think he's still one of the fastest guys in the league, but I wish I could give you something more concrete about why he's struggling, but it just sucks that he's struggling, man. I had so much hype for him. I can't say that I'm like over invested in him, but I definitely have a decent amount of shares that I was very excited for.
Yeah.
Most of them on teams that I'm trying to contend with. But yeah, man, it's just I just had to bring it up because he was really. I mean, you could make the case that he was like the industry favorite for the the wide receiver breakout this year.
Yeah.
I think he was one of Andy's my guys on the footballers. I mean, just every pod I listen to, there's at least one or two guys on it that were pro Williams, if not everybody. So I don't know if you're seeing anything else that you want to point out about him, but man, it's been brutal for JMO.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, the interesting thing is his yards per target and yards per catch is very similar, if not better than it was last year. His yards per catch is another three yards than it was last year. Yards per target is very similar. I think it's like 0.3 yards difference. The difference being is he's not getting the targets he did last year. He's on pace to get 65 targets ish, and he had 91 last year. I think one of the differences would be just the offensive scheming. Ben Johnson leaving, I think, is playing a big factor in the Lions. That I don't want to say they're more simple of a game plan, but for the sake of designing plays to get these skill players open and doing well, I think is more something that was attributed and something that is applicable to Ben Johnson and what he did than just the Lions as a whole. Because even if you look at it, Montgomery had a great game last week, but he hasn't been as usable. Laporta some. So, like, yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me, buddy, but I can't hear you now. As soon as Patrick disappeared, your volume went away.
That's interesting. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's awkward. Sorry for any technical difficulties at this point. I believe Brian and Patrick will kind of come back through. I believe I'm still here, and we'll kind of go from there as we're making our way back in. Thank you for. Oh, Patrick, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It seems as if there was some other slight problems that came through, and we can come through. Yeah, we're nice back at it live, good going. Some internet problems all around. I'm not sure what happened there and why, but we're all back here, happy as can be.
Can we hear Patrick?
Hey, here we can.
Yeah. Okay. Pardon some live editing as I kind of do a few things to get us back and going again. Let's see. There we go. We're back at it in here. We were talking about Jameson Williams some. But before we kind of dive back into
there
that.
He is. Mr. One reception for 9 yards.
Yes. Before we dive back into that just yet, we have a quick question. Start sit or trade question. Trade DK Metcalf for Zay Flowers. Has JSN, Egbuka, Jefferson, and Pickens. Who would you take? So JSN, Egbuka, Jefferson, Pickens, and then who would you add onto that, DK or Zay? And personally, I'd take DK Metcalf, but what about you guys?
Yeah, I go Metcalf on that one. Like the Steelers feel like they need to throw more than ever before, and because the Jalen Warren, like the backfield's a mess. Rodgers is going to need to lead on the receivers more than usual. So I think Metcalf is the better play there.
I'd take Metcalf. Just one of the little tiebreakers is Metcalf just got done with his bye. Flowers goes on a bye next week.
Yeah, that's true too. Yep. Sweet. Yeah, I definitely, yeah. And then diving back into Jameson Williams, I think it's...
I can't hear Zach now, but I can hear Patrick.
Of course.
I think you poisoned our internet.
I'm sorry.
Can you guys hear me now?
Then
Can't see you.
Yeah. You poisoned her until you came back in. You're messing with me. I probably need to adjust my internet anyway. So
there you go.
For Jameson Williams, just kind of jumping back on that topic real quick, I think briefly it's the Ben Johnson. I think it's Ben Johnson event in Montgomery. He had a great last game. That was kind of a what was it? His first game back. First game back in the area, his hometown area or college area, or what was it for Montgomery this last week?
Oh, it's where he grew up. He's from Cincinnati.
Yeah. So it was a hometown game for him. It was a big game for him. But Montgomery even hasn't been as reliable as he was last year in that Ben Johnson offense. So I think for Jameson, there are high hopes, but I think that the scheming Ben Johnson has, seeing the Bears every week and what he can do, he did. I think that benefits the speedy receiver that Jameson is much more than we thought. And that's part of where we see this decline in Jameson Williams.
Yeah, it seems like they are definitely more just hyper focused on Gibbs and Amon-Ra.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I get it. They're their two best offensive weapons. You know, why do something else that's maybe not going to work? But yeah, it stinks, man. I had a lot of hope for him. I think most people had a lot of hope for him, and this is the polar opposite of a breakout. It's a full regression.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. You go with your spotlight player next, Patrick? Or you want us to keep going to keep moving forward?
Yeah, you can go to a different spotlight player if you have someone queued up.
Yeah. We got yours and Quinshon Judkins. Talk us through this.
Judkins is a next level player at every aspect, every
Let's get with the French call of don't know what.
Judkins is really like a next level player at every statistics that you can imagine. He's going to be a first round pick in every draft next year. He's even with lackluster offensive line play, lackluster quarterback play, Judkins is the guy. He is just like, if you could somehow buy low on Judkins, I would do it now.
Yeah, that's a question. I don't know if you can buy low on him after last game. He's slowly gotten better and better each game. He hit 94 yards, 82, 110. These last three games against some pretty good defenses with Green Bay, at Detroit, Minnesota. He's looking very good right now.
4.82 per carry. He just looks special, man. And I feel like a lot of the times that I've seen the Browns pop up on Red Zone when I'm watching, he's broken a bunch of big runs that ended up getting called back on penalty too. So even with having some of his biggest runs deleted, he's balling out. He's already up to the running back 20 on the year in half and full PPR, and he gave everybody else a head start. Yeah, he just looks legit. He looks very, very good.
This is your top priority?
Yeah, especially if you talking dynasty leagues, there are some people who you were able to buy low on Judkins and get him cheap because of the potential suspensions, the legal problems. Some people were selling him for mid-second, late second, just to say, well, I need to get something back from him. That if you're able to do that, or if you're able to somehow still do that now, or even maybe pay a little more for him, depending on how you like his matchups coming up. If you have the depth, he seems to just be getting better and better each week.
Yeah, my big money redraft league, our draft was on August 30th, I believe, and at that point, he hadn't even been cleared of the legal shit, hadn't even joined the team yet. So I mean, he was like towards the end of the draft, he was 12th, 13th round pick, something like that. And now this person's just sitting on free money there.
Yeah. Yep. We got a question, and then we'll kind of dive into our contending assets. Thoughts on Jalen Cooker coming back from IR? Do we like him over Ridley or Golden? What do we think Cooker will do kind of coming off injury?
I mean, he's certainly a guy that I wouldn't mind adding if I have the bench space for, but most redraft leagues you're working with pretty small benches, 5, 6 spots, maybe 7 if you're lucky. As far as the two guys he mentioned specifically, Ridley and Golden, I'm not dropping Golden yet for a guy like Coker. There's just too much potential. There's no alpha there. The Packers, another team that just got done with their bye, so you've got Golden going forward. Rookie wide receivers especially are notorious for just getting stronger as the season goes on, Igbuka excluded. But most rookie wide receivers start doing well as it progresses. So I'm not cutting to Matthew Golden for Jalen Coker. Calvin Ridley has been, he was my full panic player last week, and then what I do, I guess I gave him, maybe he watched the show and you got a kick in the ass because, Ridley went out and balled this week and went over 100 and, had his first rock solid game of the year. So I don't think I'm dropping him for Ridley either. I mean,
yeah, that's tough. I
believe Cam Ward should also, like most rookies, get a little more comfortable, get a little bit better as we progress here. So, I'm not dropping him for either of them, but that's also, I'm not just saying Coker's nothing or he's not worth a flyer, because he is. We've seen some games out of him in the past. We've seen a connection with him and Bryce Young. So I'm not saying don't pick him up, but I'd say not over those two particular guys.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. I don't think he's going to get the volume potential that he had towards the end of last season when he went off a little bit. I think, McMillan's going to still take most of the focus there. That unless it's a really good matchup, I don't even know if I would stream him unless I'm devastated by bye weeks and injuries. So whereas I would feel at least Ridley or even Golden with his speed has a potential ceiling to justify streaming one of them if you really need to.
So just thinking of like some of my leagues and leagues I play in, who's some guys that are on benches right now that I would consider cutting out for to take the flyer on Coker. Maybe like an Alec Ayomanor. He kind of came on a little bit, but then he's had quiet games, and now Ridley just had the big game. So like he's if he's on my bench, I'd cut him for a guy like Coker. Darius Slayton, we had a lot of high hopes for him to kind of step in and take that outside role for the Giants. He didn't do anything except for get hurt. So he might not even be playing. So that's a guy that I'd have no problem cutting for a Coker. If it wasn't for his name, you could say cut Jameson Williams' ass for Coker, because the the 4 to 5 points, the 2 points last week that you're getting from him. Coker could be better than that, but it's just you can't cut a giant name guy like that. Just somebody in your league will just give you something for him just on name value. But yeah, there's definitely plenty of scenarios where I could see grabbing Coker and hoping for a mid to later season breakout or re-breakout.
Yep. We got one more question, but I think what we're going to be talking about next will help answer it. A guy needs a solid running back too. He has Kamara, Dowdle, Chubb, Pacheco, Sharb. And I think kind of what we'll talk about next might give you a little idea of what running back you might want to go after. And I want to talk through this next slide just a little. And as mentioned, we're going to be talking about contending and rebuilding assets. Some rebuilding mostly or contending, pretending, contending, rebuilding, pretenders or rebuilders for dynasty. But for contending, it's as applicable to dynasty as redraft. What I have here is on the left, I have teams and when they're playing other teams. Essentially, what we did was we went through the Fantasyholics fantasy worksheet to show what defenses have given up the most fantasy points across all positions. And we came up with 6 teams that are giving up so many points. So we have the Bengals, the Bears, the Ravens, Dolphins, Cowboys, and the Commanders. So what we put together for you is a list of teams that play these worst 6 defenses the most. So you have an idea of who you should go after if you need players. So what I'm saying is the Steelers are playing the Bengals in week 7, 11, the Bears in 12, the Ravens in week 14, the Dolphins in week 15. That if you have a chance to get DK Metcalf, maybe even Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Warren, who might you be able to get coming off injury, or Kenneth Gainwell as a potential backup. The Steelers have 5 weeks of incredibly soft defenses that your players are going to have high ceilings on. Same thing with the Packers. Packers are heavily in the playoffs. Kind of depends on your league, but week 14, 15 really are 15 for sure is playoffs. 14 kind of depends. But for that late playoff push or that playoffs, the Packers are a great team of players that you want to kind of go after. So for this question of you need a solid running back too, who should you go after? I'm looking at Jalen Warren. I'm looking at Kenneth Gainwell. You're not going to get Josh Jacobs too cheap. You might be able to get Jordan Mason. You can probably get Chase Brown very cheap, and he's going to have some great matchups coming up forward. That if you're looking for this running back, look for some of these that you might be able to come get low on. You even mentioned you're thinking of Dobbins and Addison for Brian Thomas Jr. and Sharp or different things. I think right now, aim for one of these teams and some of these running backs here that you can get cheap. I mean, do you think with how bad Derrick Henry has been, do you think you can get Derrick Henry cheap and have some of these great matchups coming up where he'll pop off for you?
I was just going to say, you took it out of my mouth, man. Derrick Henry is probably a cheap buy right now. If you have Derrick Henry, you've been frustrated. You can go after him. Lamar most likely misses this coming week, and then they go on bye. So then you figure everything from week 8 on is back to their normal offense with Lamar. He's a guy you could go after. With the Vikings, Aaron Jones is on IR, but it wasn't season ending. Aaron Jones is somebody you could get for peanuts right now. They used him before he got hurt. He was getting pretty split usage with Jordan Mason. So he's a dude that not only can you get on the cheap, you can just put him right on your IR, and he's not even using up a regular roster spot for you. Agreed. Gainwell and Warren are nice targets. I don't think either of them are going to be crazy expensive for you. Bill Krosky Merritt. Now that might the price of the bag just went up with him.
Yeah,
he finally blew up. Maybe Barkley's got a couple of the good matchups there. Barkley managers might be a little frustrated. So yeah, this is a good guideline. We're enough weeks into the season that these 6 teams that we're spotlighting, they're on this list for a reason. They're letting people go off on them every week. I mean, the Cowboys, granted, it was garbage time, but they let Justin Fields go from having one of the worst days ever. It's like a top 5 quarterback on the week. He got some crazy percentage of his points, like just in the fourth quarter.
He saved me in a couple leagues because
Yeah.
of that.
The Ravens, granted, they're on this list a lot from injury, but injuries happen, and who knows if they pull it back together. But I mean, look what the Texans just did to them, man. C.J. Stroud, look, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He was just dealing out there, man.
Amazing
out
game
here in the streets for the Baltimore Ravens defense. It's weird seeing the Ravens defense. You just think of all the great years and great teams, and Ed Reed is not walking through that door for Baltimore anytime soon. So,
yeah,
man. I mean, this is a cool graph to look at. It definitely just shows you teams to target. Don't avoid people that are don't try to just get a team that exclusively has players that are playing these teams. But this is a very good guideline. This is something also, take a screenshot of this, save it for stuff where you're on the fence about trading for a player or who to start any given week. You got 2 guys trying to flip a coin on for your last flex spot. Well, if they're playing one of these 6 defenses, that's a perfect reason to go with that guy.
Yeah, and this is recorded on YouTube, so you can always go back to our YouTube page, Fantasyholic Podcasts, and rewatch it here and come back to the slide. I think you even mentioned, you asked Nico Collins if you trade Nico Collins for Rome Odunze straight up. And I would say easily I would take Rome Odunze right now. I mean, Rome Odunze just had his bye week, so you're having another week. We talked about getting this free week, and Nico Collins is off this week on bye, so you get a free week on that. And Rome Odunze, he's before this week, because he was wide receiver 5. It drops a little because he's had his bye, and not everyone has, but he was wide receiver 3 to 5 before he went on bye.
Oh yeah, Rome's been cooking.
Yeah, and Nico had that big game because it was the Ravens defense. I would trade Nico for Rome right now for sure.
Yeah, and then also another aspect of looking at these 6 defenses that are weak, it has an effect on their offenses too, because these teams are just giving up points left and right. Their offenses are going to have no choice but to be throwing the ball and just potentially even just having some garbage time late in games. So I could see the Bears in a lot of games where both sides are over 30 and Rome keeps having big days. Hopefully, that could be some fantasy magic for the Ravens if they get Lamar back, but this defense is still giving up points like crazy. That could turn into some video game stuff, like reminiscent of, there was a Ravens-Dolphins game like early last year that was just astronomical points scored on both sides of the ball. So that's something to consider too. Offensive players on teams with shit defenses. The Cowboys, Dak is putting up numbers. Dak doesn't even have CeeDee Lamb, and he's the quarterback 4. I checked that out before we started. Dak's the fucking quarterback 4, and he hasn't had Lamb for weeks, and he started the season with a fucking dud against my Eagles. He had like 11 fantasy points week 1.
Maybe.
And he's all the way up to the quarterback 4 because he's out there throwing the ball 47 times a game and for a ton of yards and touchdowns. So yeah, there's something to be said, man. Get some that are offensive players that are on teams with shitty defenses. Magic will happen.
Yeah, and if you're afraid you might miss the playoffs, look at the Steelers, look at the Vikings, because your playoffs should in theory be starting week 15 because players are still on bye week 14. Steelers, you can have a week 11, 12, 14 push with great matchups, or Vikings 10, 11, 14, and both have great matchups in week 15 to start the playoffs strong. Use this, or if you think you're going to be making the playoffs, go for the Bengals. Again, Chase Brown, I think towards the end of the season will pick back up. Even Joe Burrow might be back week 14, 15. That'll potentially benefit Chase Brown. That he might be a good buy low for those. You're 5-0, 4-1. Go get Chase Brown, stick him on your bench. You're not going to lose much. You can afford to lose an extra game or two to have him potentially go off for you in your flex spot in the playoffs. But yeah, that's kind of the idea of this, is just to see what players might be worthwhile to go after.
Yes, sir. Oh, we didn't do any breaking news yet, but Joey Flacco.
Yes.
Delaware, Joe Flacco going to the freaking Bengals, man. So, not that he did anything spectacular with the Browns. I could see him just getting his ass handed to him the same way that Browning's been getting his ass handed to him. But who knows? Maybe they right the offensive line a little bit. Joe Flacco's a vet. We've seen him, be the white Jameis Winston multiple times recently in the last couple of years. So, who knows? We'll see. The Bengals, Browning and Chase in particular, granted in some garbage time, ended up having pretty big games. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, man, Chase Brown, I agree. There's nobody else there. He's healthy. He's getting all the work. If they start to figure it out a little bit, their schedule definitely gets easier. Look at what you're seeing on the board there. They've got some of the worst defenses possible coming up. So yeah, man, I like going after Chase Brown. His obviously talk about Henry managers being frustrated. Good Lord, Chase Brown has been. You took him in the second round in redraft leagues. He's been killing you.
Yeah, or even T. Higgins might be a good one to go after. That while I think Flacco might still be running around for his life, I think he will more consistently get the ball to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. He'll be able to make those reads, get those balls out quicker than Browning. That he has that experience to at least do that successfully, to make, if anything, the floor of Higgins and Chase to go up.
Yep.
And so T. Higgins might be a good one to kind of buy low now. Or I know some people who are completely out on Jamar Chase right now, that he might be able to be someone you could get cheaper as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll dive into, again, if you have any questions, feel free to post. If you don't think we answered your questions, ping us again, make sure. But we'll dive into just a recap of this past week before we do a preview of next week. So diving into this week, we had 4 teams on bye: Steelers, Bears, Falcons, and Packers. But we had some incredibly close games this week. Some blowouts that you didn't expect. It was a very explosive, in a kind of an unpredictable manner, football this week. What kind of, any games stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just touch on them, just touch on each of them, especially since we had a couple teams off. But starting with Thursday night, man, I picked up and plugged in the Rams defense to play in my league of record, thinking I was a sneaky play. They're playing the super injured 49ers with superstar Kendrick Bourne as their best pass catcher in the game. They pulled it off, man. Listen, Mac Jones is fucking okay to good at football. He can play.
Yeah.
He's got some fucking spark to him. Like, you see him on the sideline, you see him like getting in defenders' faces and shit. He can play. I've seen enough. There's enough tape. Mac Jones is a capable, solid NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
You put him in that system with Kendrick Bourne, and he ended up having a good game. So good to see there. Bourne, Bourne's one of the top waiver ads this week because no one in San Fran can stay healthy. He might be, the top pass catcher there yet again. I'm hearing rumors that Kittle's eligible to come back this week, but he's not ready yet.
Expected.
Yeah, he fucked his hamstring up bad. My man had a baseball cap on like before he walked off the field with that hamstring injury. So no bueno there. With the Rams, man, Stafford he's fucking slinging. I think he leads the NFL in passing yards right now. Puka is
killing it,
on pace to bring. We're a lot of hype for Ibuka, but Puka is on another planet right now. He's on pace to go well over 2,000 yards if they keep this up.
Yep.
Adams, decent, quieter but still decent game. Adams has been a solid start every week. Kyron had a monster game.
Yeah.
The Rams are who we thought they were. With, I'd say, Stafford's even better than we thought he would be.
Yeah, I sat Mac Jones for Cooper Rush in a league or two, and boy, did that bite me so hard.
Yeah.
But an interesting stat I saw for the 49ers is if you take Christian McCaffrey's rushing stats, everything rushing-wise, out and just take his receiving stats, he would be a top 10 wide receiver scoring wise. That's how much receiving volume he's getting. And you saw that sure, it was Kendrick Bourne getting a ton, but McCaffrey was getting so many targets as well. To me, that's a little concerning for his health moving forward, just with the immense volume he's getting. But boy, I'm in a pick 'em pool, picking the winners of the games each week, and 50%, 75% of everyone put most of our points on the Rams to win it, and it threw a monkey wrench through everything. That was not a game anyone thought the 49ers would be close in. I think even the spread was like -8 or 9 for the Rams, which is, yeah, it was 49ers. Mac Jones did some amazing stuff that game, and yeah, it was a great game to watch.
It was fun, man. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see as the Niners get healthy. I think it's probably going to be Mac Jones again this week. I think they keep
I think so too.
One more at least.
Yeah, it was. Report was that Purdy has no timeline to return, so that's something that to me that's leaning that Mac Jones will go another week, especially with how he looked. Give Purdy, who has the giant contract, an extra week to rest, and keep Mac Jones out there and keep that momentum going.
Definitely. And I think Pearsall might be able to play this week. Who knows? But
yeah.
I mean, we just saw that he can do it with Kendrick Bourne. So
yeah.
And Jake Tonjes.
Yeah.
Then we had the London game, Vikings, Browns. Kind of what I thought we were going to see from that. Lower scoring. Yeah. Two pretty good defenses. Judkins again. Got to see Judkins in a spotlight game. Everybody got to see how fucking quick that kid looks.
Yeah.
Like I said, I watched multiple big runs get called back, and he still had a big game. With the Vikes, great to see Jefferson just getting that full focus. 10, 11 catches, 100-something yards, his monster game. Yeah. Carson Wentz, we all know he's capable and can produce. Addison got the game-winning touchdown after getting punished and having to sit the first quarter. I guess he missed a meeting or something early in the week, so he didn't even play the first quarter. But Jordan Mason got in the end zone. Not much other than that, but he got you like 13, 14 points. So, everything we kind of expected from the Vikes. Judkins is really the only Brown that you want to be starting. We did get the big game from Njoku, back from the dead, Undertaker, gif. Dylan Gabriel.
He did well.
He looked better than I thought he would.
Yeah.
So hopefully that continues. Hopefully he could start getting Judy a little bit more involved so we can get a wide receiver going. But good to see Njoku. Fannin got in the end zone, had like 4 catches for not many yards, but positive vibes. We'll see. Hopefully he can be a little bit of a spark for them. Yeah,
I did not expect the Browns to start Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders at any point. Just thinking just with the hype Sanders got, it might have been I was listening to people saying Shadeur's doing great. He had that great preseason game. Just thinking he was, the Browns would appease their crowd before putting Gabriel in. But I mean, they seem confident enough in him and Sanders to trade away Flacco this week. Yeah, he looked promising. I mean, when you're looking at a international game against a good Viking defense, yeah, he looks good. And Carson Wentz is doing a great job kind of filling in for J.J. McCarthy, not doing amazing things. I expect a little more out of him, but he's still, if you're looking at a 14-team super flex, something like that, Wentz is definitely startable as your quarterback too, or even bye weeks. So yeah, it's lower scoring game. Yeah, is what I expected, but it was still a good game to watch.
They do go into their bye now. They just spent 2 weeks in Europe, so they'll be on bye next week, and we'll see how it plays out if they bring McCarthy back. But like we were talking about right when McCarthy went down, Vikings are winning games. I literally think a direct quote from me was, if they're winning games and Justin Jefferson's having 100-yard games, how are they just going to go, all right, kid, get back in there, after he just looked totally lost? So we'll see. I mean, obviously there'll be not much news at all about it all this week. We'll start hearing reports about from the coaches and stuff, ramping up to the following week. So something to keep an eye on. Super flex leagues, I don't think, in single quarterback, I don't think anybody was really using Wentz or McCarthy or planning on that much.
Yeah, and I think it's a brutal schedule for the Vikings when they get off by 2 to bring McCarthy back in. So that's something to keep an eye on. Mm-hmm. But the Colts crushed the Raiders, and that was pretty much the Jonathan Taylor show. Just going out, balling, doing his thing, like proving that the contract that he earned, that people who have been doubting him, he just blew him out of the water.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns, and they brought in fucking Amir Abdullah for a goal line touchdown that could have been Taylor's easily.
Yeah,
because that wasn't even in garbage time. They actually went back. He had 2 touchdowns. Abdullah got one, and then Taylor came in and got one after that. So it was kind of odd. I guess maybe he just needed some oxygen because he was running so hard the whole game. But yep. Daniel Jones, another capable, solid looking performance. Pittman has been much better than most people had thought he was going to be.
Yep.
Like he really is clearly the receiver to own there over Downs, which that was debatable. I think Downs was probably going over Pittman the majority of leagues at this point, early in the preseason. However, so Tyler Warren's been phenomenal. Guy I have little to no shares of because I was listening to a lot of scouting type guys that said they preferred Loveland over him, but Warren's been fantastic. He's getting all the usage. They're giving him handoffs. He's been fantastic.
Yeah. I took Loveland over Warren in a couple leagues just because of the draft capital and like in the Bears. But Warren's doing great things for the Colts. And I think people are seeing that Daniel Jones probably wasn't the full problem in New York. That you give him some half decent. Pittman's more than half decent. Downs is good. Warren's shown to be great. You give him some good weapons around him. He's more than a serviceable quarterback. He can, I don't want to go out saying he's going to win you games, but he's a step below that when you give him actual weapons. Like he was looking good with Malik Neighbors before but the Giants had already ridden him off by that point. So I do wonder if the Colts actually stick with Daniel Jones moving forward or kind of what they do in future years. That's going to be very interesting to see play out. I even think I saw reports the Colts are hearing trade offers or are willing to hear trade offers for Richardson, which is going to be interesting if anything comes of that. So, that's those are.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, the quarterback 8 for fantasy through 5 weeks. Rock solid, man. And this the league. Well, I'm looking at a league that doesn't. There's just regular scoring, but in leagues with points per carry, he might even be a spot or 2 ahead of that because he does run the ball. Hasn't ran the ball much though. He hasn't had to. But that is something that is in Daniel Jones' arsenal. He can take off and run with it if need be. So, yeah, man, quarterback 8 after 5 weeks. That's nothing to to say was a fluke.
Nothing to scoff at.
Good for him.
Yeah, I'm going to Giants Saints. Scadaboo looked like Scadaboo, where he's just trying to plow through people. Reminds me of, I think you mentioned it last week, reminds you of Isaiah Pacheco, where he just is almost looking for contact and just wants to run people over, which is injury-prone play style, but is so fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Jackson Dart got injured, questionable for this week. And what was it? Rashid Shaheed popped off for the Saints this week.
He had a huge bomb touchdown. Let me see. I'm not sure if it was just that one big touchdown that got him, or he actually was getting a little bit of volume.
Yeah,
but the Saints look good. Something to factor in with the Saints. If they keep giving more and more work to Kendre Miller, and there is tons and tons of rumor mill that they're going to trade Kamara before the trade deadline to let him go to a potential contender.
I haven't heard that.
It would make all the sense in the world for the Saints too. I mean, they're not winning anything this year. They're paying him a bunch of money. He's been one of the best players in their franchise history. He just went up to, I remember at one point he caught a pass and they were like, that put him, he has the fifth most receptions by a running back in NFL history now.
Really?
So, yeah. He passed Marcus Allen, I think it was. So yeah, Kamara's been, a fantastic fantasy asset. He's still producing pretty well fantasy wise, but he could be gone. So keep an eye on Kendre Miller. That's a guy, definitely a waiver wire ad if you don't have him, because they trade Kamara. Shit, man, he's already getting 55% of the snaps. So that's a guy to look at. As far as Shaheed, he had 4 catches for a $114. So yeah, I mean it was more or less just a big touchdown, but that's
Still
what he does. I mean that's his repertoire. That's what we were fucking hoping for from Jameson Williams.
Yeah, and Kendre Miller. I think we talked about that a little in the preseason, like almost like he was irrelevant and droppable. That who is it? Neil was. He was going to take over, and Neil's gotten injured, and Miller has looked good. I do wonder if Neil come back from injury will kind of chip in more, but I do understand Kamara being traded. He has been underwhelming from expectations this year, but that partially could just be him being on the Saints. That if he could go to another team that could utilize him, take pressure off him. Like when you look at the Saints offense, Chris Olave still does decent things, but when you look at the Saints offense, you're probably thinking, stop Kamara because he's explosive. That if you go somewhere else, that would be great for him and whoever would get him.
Last bit on the Saints. Spencer Rattler has been better than I assumed he would be.
Yes.
After 5 games, he's sitting at quarterback 20. And if you are like me and play in a billion Superflex dynasty leagues, that's a starter. Like if he can be your pencil him in as a quarterback 2, or if need be your third quarterback on the bench there. But he's been serviceable. I think he's looked far better than even the Saints thought he would. I know they drafted Shuck, but at this point, if he's getting the job done, I mean, not that they're winning or anything, but he looks comfortable. I could see him just hanging on to this job for the rest of the year, letting the Saints really give him a full season eyeball test to see how he handles different situations and how he finishes. But yeah, Rattler is a dude that in 2 quarterback leagues has been absolutely viable as a lower end quarterback too, not just the quarterback 31 or 32 as most sites and places had him rated.
Yeah, most definitely. We talked about the Cowboys Jets some in that Fields was having a horrible game until the 4th quarter, where he got a couple touchdowns, most of his points, redeemed himself. Quarterback, I think you mentioned quarterback 5 on the week, something like that, just solely from the 4th quarter.
Right.
Javonte Williams had a great game for the Cowboys. Pickens was all right. He wasn't amazing, but it was Dak Prescott's really going off. I don't even remember his name. There was a wide receiver for the Cowboys that took everything.
Yeah, you're referring to Ryan Flournoy. He had 6 catches for like 115 yards, 114 yards, something like that.
Couldn't have pronounced his last name if I tried.
Have to bring this up because in my main league of record redraft team, it's an ESPN team, and I was fortunate enough to take Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is now not only the running back 3 on the year after 5 games, he has been added to the cannot drop list on ESPN. That's how good Javonte is. If he was like my 12th or 11th round draft pick or whatever he was, and now I literally couldn't drop him if I wanted to. So yeah, what a fucking relation. What a amazing fantasy hero at this point, man. I mean, talk about great values. Ibuka in the 8th for sure, but I mean, Javonte was even later than that. Yeah, honest to God, I think if I'd have to pull up the little picture of my draft board, but I think Jadon Blue got drafted in front of Javonte in my redraft league.
In some, yeah.
Yeah, man. So,
yeah. Nice and good. Breece Hall is doing better than people expected. We talked about that one of our first podcasts, our players. Breece Hall, Justin Fields is doing good things for Breece Hall because it's taking defenders away from just doubling Hall. That they have to respect Justin Fields rushing it, that he's coming up. He's doing good things. He's got some good matchups coming up. The Jets was one of the teams on our contending matchups list that if you can get him cheaper, he's got some great matchups going forward.
Hall's been great. Braylon Allen got hurt to IR too, so it's really only got Isaiah Davis there, spelling him. So Hall's been wonderful. If you had to guess without looking, where's Garrett Wilson at on the season as far as like wide receiver? What overall? What do you think?
Oh, I just actually a guy just traded for Garrett Wilson in one of my dynasty leagues like yesterday, and I looked. Isn't he like 7 or 8?
5.
Yep.
Another big game, another touchdown. Granted, garbage time versus the Cowboys, but it all counts.
And Garrett,
wide receiver 5 on the year. I mean, we know he's got the talent. He's done it with the most ragtag offenses and weirdest group of quarterbacks that any pass catcher's ever had. But yeah, man, Garrett Wilson is getting it done big time.
And I know some people were worried about Justin Fields. Go back and look at the Bears with Justin Fields and DJ Moore. Yep. Like DJ Moore had a better year than all his years with the Panthers with Fields. That Fields can't support 2 or 3 wide receivers, but if you have one strong one, he'll make it work.
Yep. So on to my painful.
Yeah, I'll step back and just let you talk about that one.
So, I mean, players-wise, Dobbins got it done again. Just gets in the end zone every week. Yep. Finishes as a high-end running back 2 for you every week. He's been wonderful. RJ Harvey was hoping, after his big game, he would be more involved, but he kind of stepped back into that same little 5-6 fantasy point role that he had the first few weeks. So we all continue to wait on the true shift in power to get RJ Harvey more involved, but Dobbins is getting it done. Cortland Sutton, another big game. Cortland Sutton's been great. Bo Nix didn't have the best fantasy day by any means, but didn't kill you. Better days ahead for Nix probably. My Eagles, it was ugly. They were up 17-3 the majority of the game. They just took their foot off the gas pedal on offense and went back to this real conservative bullshit. My boy Devontae had a big game. He had like 100
huge
plus, 8 or 9 catches. I think he ended up, even after the Monday night game, I think he finished as a top 10 or top 12 wide receiver on the week, which was great to see. AJB was like 5 for 43, so still disappointing, but at least 9 points for you rather than the super dud 0s and 1 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was messy. There was some real shit penalties. I'm not going to sit here and say they lost because of penalties. The Eagles lost that game themselves, but the one that I have to bring up that just pisses me off so much, the late hit or unnecessary roughness on Zach Bond. RJ Harvey was, the defender got him by the ankles, and Harvey was still up and trying to get his ankle loose and keep running. Zach Bond, all-pro linebacker, comes flying over, dives at him to try to get him down. He was still up when Bond started diving and happened to, go down before he got there. And it was a shit call, man. It wasn't even he was targeting him or hit him in the head or pile drove him into the rib cage or anything suspect. And it was such an important play. It was literally that was stopping them on a 3rd down, and then it turned into 15 yards and automatic first. What a pain in the ass. That's not why they lost. The Eagles fucked themselves on that one, but ran over. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think I saw. I think it was this way that they had a Hail Mary to end the game, and wasn't AJ Brown is the one that defended the pass against Devontae Smith and stopped him from catching or some weird. I mean, it's a Hail Mary, so it's not the likelihood of it happening, but it was just funny to see both of them right there as the main defenders on each other. But it was, I didn't even expect that. I thought the Eagles would keep it up.
Yeah, it stinks. I mean, the one positive is they got the loss out of the way. They could kind of regroup. They weren't going 17-0. But it is what it is. They'll hopefully learn from it. But big win for the Broncos. Certainly, obviously, you beat the undefeated reigning world champs in their building. That's a huge win for them. So good for them.
Yeah. Yep. Panthers actually looked good for once. Granted, as we looked, the Dolphins have a terrible defense, so that's part of it. Jalen Waddle is looking great in the absence of Tyreek Hill. Devon Achane had a good game too.
Waller, man.
Ricky Dowdle. Holy mackerel. He's the first.
Barry Sanders Dowdle, you mean?
Yeah. But he was the first running back to have over 200 rushing yards this season. He was amazing game. And I've heard some people say that he's already played Chuba Hubbard out of his job just from that game.
Dude, it was massive. Now, last year, Dowdle, he was very capable for fantasy. Once the Cowboys gave him the role, he was very good. I definitely got into some heated debates defending him because his big stretch run where he had like 4 big games in a row or whatever it was versus some of the shittier defenses. So can't argue that. You beat up on the bad teams, but you play who's in front of you, right? Perfect example of that here. He played one of our spotlight shit defenses, and he went off for, let me see the exact numbers here. I just pulled them up. He had 23 carries for 206 yards.
That's gave him 9 yards a carry or something?
8.96 per carry and the score, and even gave you 3 for 28 in the passing game. That's like 32, 33 points, depending if some leagues you get bonuses for every 100 yards or big play bonuses or points per carry, whatever the case. But just in vanilla PPR scoring, you got 33, 32 points. Amazing stuff. I don't know if he's completely usurped Chuba. They did just pay Chuba, and he's been pretty good. So I think it would be more of like a 50-50 split. I don't know how you watch a guy go for 2 bills and then go, all right, take the bench.
And they didn't pay Chuba big bucks. They paid him medium. So like even if they move it to Dowdle seems to have potentially won the starting job or won competing at least somewhere else next year because he's just on a 1-year deal. Many people were saying, why didn't he go somewhere he could actually compete for the starting job? And he's out here saying, you're saying what? I'm the starter now. So especially depends on what Hubbard's injury is, a hamstring. So that for a running back is going to be tough for him to come back on and be full strength. That's going to linger for weeks. They might lean on Dowdle for a while.
Yeah, man. It's great if you got him.
Yep.
He's I think only like 58 or 59% rostered in ESPN. So take a peek on your waiver wires in your redraft leagues. You might be able to grab a fucking golden nugget there. We talked a good bit about the Texans and the Ravens already with their shit defenses and better times to come when Lamar gets back. I don't think we really need to go too deep there. We already did. You got the Titans. Whew. The Cardinals. Oh my God.
They had the win and just slipped through the grasp.
I shared this meme in our group chat, man. It's a picture of DeMarcado about to cross the goal line. It's 21-3 Cardinals, and with like 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the caption was the Cardinals lost this game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He was benched after that. Granted, Michael Carter took most of the snaps beforehand, which is interesting because everyone thought it wasn't going to be him. And then Michael Carter made a comment of it's great to be the running back 1 or something before the game. And he came in, proved, I've seen him. He's a great one to pick up if for some reason he wasn't picked up previously in your leagues. He's a great one to grab now. Like it seems like it's his job to lose until Trey Benson gets back from injury, who's 4 to 6 weeks out, I think, but leaning more towards that 6+. That and James Conner might not be back, especially if you're looking dynasty leagues. Michael Carter might be a great one for 2 potential years, give or take. It's that was I'm still baffled that the Cardinals lost that.
Oh, it was just error after fuck up after fuck up. They couldn't have they had to try to lose that game almost. But
if you haven't seen the fumble Titans touchdown, you need to go and see that because it was a fumble that was almost recovered and batted like 10 yards, and it was like a circus of it was a circus. You know, it's like everyone was out there slipping on bananas, just running around, just like
music in the background. It was ridiculous, man.
Everyone trying to. It was a greased pig they were trying to grasp. It just
yes, it was fucking absurd. On the other side of it, hopefully we get some. You know, Cam Ward gets a little confidence from that.
Yes.
So have the big game go over 100. Hopefully he's usable again. Tony Pollard he's been working his ass off just to be like a low end running back too for you, but he keeps getting the volume. You know, Spears is back, but Pollard still got most of the work here. So hopefully just better, you know, a little bit better offense from the Titans.
Yeah.
Bucks Seahawks in the greatest throwback uniform game. So good. Seeing the old creamsicles and like the blue and green Seahawks stuff. Hell of a shootout. Darnold had been averaging like 20 points a game. He dropped you 34, 37, 38, depending on your scoring format. Baker and Ibuka getting it done again.
JSN went off.
And JSN
always has.
Fantastic, man. What a fucking stud that kid's been. He's having the true. I mean, he had 100 catch season, top 10 last year, so it's hard to call this his breakout year, but he's stepping into that upper echelon for sure. Rashad White stepped in and got all the Bucky Irving work. Kind of think it might be a Sean Tucker Rashad White split, but it was all Rashad White. He was great. 2 scores. Mostly offense. I don't think anybody really let you down. AJ Barner got 2 touchdowns, so he made the waiver wire article.
I'm picking him up in a few leagues or throwing some waiver wires in for him. I even have him in a couple other leagues, and I have him in a league where a guy was trying in Dynasty to trade me Sam Laporta for my first and second, and I'm like, I got AJ Barner, who's done better than Laporta. Like, I'm good. That one game might have been better than most of Laporta's season so far. So yeah, I don't think anyone expected much from Barner, and he's been startable in the tight end position so far.
Yeah, in a down year for tight ends. I mean, Brock Bowers has gotten you nothing since getting hurt. Trey McBride's been steady, but it's been like 9 points, 14 points, 12, 15. Had the one
a low floor or high floor, low ceiling for McBride.
Right. He's still like the tight end 4 on the year for you, but Kittle had a quarter and then he's been out since. Hard out here in the streets for the tight ends. Unless your name's Jake Ferguson, woo, Jake balling out, tight end 1 on the season. Crazy shit, man. But yeah, I mean, the last thing for the Seahawks, man, we're just right back to where we always are with these fucking running backs. Yeah. Like Charbonnet gets the touchdown, Walker gets them down there.
Yeah,
you're not that excited to start either of them, so you're not dropping either. But good luck making the fucking decision on who to start.
Yeah, did not expect that much of a split, but it's even still a little in Charbonnet's favor here. That Charbonnet himself is kind of picking up some or is doing the majority of the snaps, but Walker's getting those big runs and Charbonnet is getting those touchdowns. Yeah, thankfully I don't have much in the line of Charbonnet and Walker stock, which is thankful on my end. I know a couple dynasty leagues where someone has both and is trying to move one and benefit from it, but it's really, you can flex one, but really it's a toss-up as to who's going to do well. Granted, Walker has done well for the sake of consistency in flex, but Charbonnet has the higher ceiling, it seems, for the sake of touchdowns and getting that goal line work. Moving forward a little with the Lions and Bengals, we'll have Brian come back real quick. It seems like all of us are having a little internet problems tonight, and we do apologize for that.
Hey,
yeah, we're all having internet problems tonight.
I had a messenger call from our group chat.
Oh, and that kicked you off.
And it kicked me off, yeah.
Oh, that would do it. Yeah, Lions and Bengals, don't let the score deceive you. This was not a close game. We had that game here, and it got switched off to the Chargers game because it was such a blowout that the Bengals, I think it was 2 touchdowns they got after the game got switched, and that was garbage time, which for Chase, amazing for Chase and Browning. But that game was not close, despite it being a 13-point differential. The Lions had control of that the entire game, and it was tough to watch as if you're a Bengals fan.
Yep. Great to see Chase relevant again. We'll see what happens with Flacco. Still hard to start. Higgins. We talked plenty about JMO, but the other Lions are all pretty easy starts at this point.
Yep. Yeah, even T. Higgins, we talked some last week as the spotlight of I'm sorry, I'm out on him. I'm sorry for saying buy him early on. Joe Flacco might change it. That's a factor that wasn't taken in there, but that's still to be determined.
Yeah, man. So we got Washington blew out the Chargers. The Chargers lost another offensive lineman. It's hard out there for them. Herbert looked like MVP candidate through 2-3 weeks, and it's gotten harder and harder for him. We lost Amari and Hampton to the IR. So yeah, Lad McConkey got back into the end zone. Didn't have a huge game other than that, but he was at least a good start for you for the first time in a little bit. Quentin Johnston was not a good start for the first time all year.
Yeah.
I think it was more that they were just getting so much pressure on Herbert with the lack of an offensive line that the big bombs down to Johnston just weren't there. They weren't developing, so he had to go short to McConkey.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there, but the Manders, the Bill Krosky coming out party, he really did smash. Hopefully they see that now, and it's all him. Wheels up for Bill.
Yeah, which is funny where we were talking about the Commanders being a bottom 6 defense and the Chargers just couldn't do anything. There are times that just happens. The offense just can't get rolling. The defense just gets the momentum. Washington with Krosky Merritt just could control the game, control the clock. That the defense for the Chargers got tired. The offense couldn't get in a rhythm. That sometimes that does happen. And that's more a product of the Commanders' offense doing well than the defense doing absolutely amazing. But the defense was good for the Commanders, and the offense was great. That it couldn't let the Chargers get much going.
So I just want to check the actual number here, but Debo has been fantastic.
Oh yeah, he had a great game, didn't he?
He's really been almost every week pretty solid. So he is wide receiver 7. Debo Samuel.
Wow. I knew he was doing great. I didn't expect that much.
7, bro. And, even the games that Terry was there with him, he was pretty solid anyway. He seems to be, he's got a role in this offense, whether Terry's there or not. So, yeah, Debo's been, found money for sure.
Yeah. Oh, completely. I'm just looking up.
He was fat. He was fat and slow in the preseason, so can't trust that guy.
And I was expecting the exact opposite with how this turned out. I was thinking Washington controlled the game. They had the rushing attack. Washington had the ball 25 minutes and 41 seconds, and the Chargers had it 34 minutes and 19 seconds. And the Chargers only had 2 turnovers. Washington had 1. So the Chargers just could not finish drives, whereas Washington was able to. I was wondering about that. I was expecting opposite. I was expecting Commanders had the ball like 40 minutes. So that's, again, even better props to the Commanders defense that it had a miracle good game. I wouldn't say that take away anything from what we said previously about the Commanders defense for our contending pieces, but yeah, props to them.
For sure, man. And then the Pats went up to Buffalo, ruined their fancy white uniform party on Sunday Night Football.
I didn't notice their uniforms were different until someone mentioned it, and I saw like the Bills logo looked cool, and it wasn't much different. But I expected us to get blown out. I'll be honest. Pats fan, I expected us to lose by 15, 20 points. And when we came in, we held our own. That James Cook had a dud of a game. I thought he'd run all over us. That I felt good about it. It's false hope. I'm not getting hope that we're going to do much this year, but yeah, that was a baffling game.
The couple fantasy bits that I want to point out are Antonio Gibson tore his ACL.
Yes.
Now we're looking at just Ramondre and Travion in the backfield. Maybe we finally start getting more Travion usage.
Ramondre fumbles so much. He fumbled once or twice that game. They gotta start using Henderson.
Yeah, you'd think so. And then the other one was, granted, it's his return/revenge game, but man, did Stephon Diggs look like he was shot out of a fucking cannon.
Oh wow! It was a slow start, but he kicked it off at the end.
He went fucking crazy, man. It was great to see, and again, he's not going back for a revenge game every week, so I don't think he's doing that every week, but he's clearly their top option in the passing game until further notice. So
yeah,
good to see there. Love the offense. Bills, better days to come for James Cook. He's very good. It was just weird circumstances. Division games are always fucking weird.
Yeah.
As an Eagles fan, I can say that there's been so many times where we played the Redskins/Commanders, where they were just one of the worst teams in the fucking NFL, and they just played their hearts out and beat a heavily favored Eagles team. So yeah, man, shit like this happens in divisional games. So I'm not too worried about the Bills being pretenders or anything like that.
Yeah, we talked a little to start about the Chiefs Jaguars. The one thing I want to mention that is so abnormal of the Chiefs had 13 penalties for 109 yards.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is like, I think there were 3 kickoffs in the rows that the Chiefs had holding penalties on that brought back some decent returns. The Chiefs are not a team that is known to have penalties in the fourth quarter, in the last 2 minutes. And that's where they just kept getting penalties. They kept shooting themselves in the foot that they could not get back in the game. And that is so unlike the Chiefs. They're a team that is disciplined. They're a team that lets the other team implode doing that so that they can come back. That's something to keep an eye out on if that continues. That's not a good sign if you're a Chiefs fan. It was a couple people that did it, but boy, you were looking at the time left, thinking, okay, we might be able to get a field goal and then kickoff, okay, holding penalty, and drop pass, or Hollywood Brown couldn't get his head turned around when he was wide open, that the ball went right by his head. It was just stupid mistakes the Chiefs don't do that is worrying for the sake of their competing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's a different looking Chiefs team than we've seen the last couple of years. We can continue on with this game that I'm playing here. Where do you think Patrick Mahomes is overall quarterback on the season, if you had to guess?
Well, I played against him. He lost me a few weeks. I was, beginning of the year, I had him at outside the top 10. I think he's probably, 3 or 4?
He's number 2.
2?
Quarterback 2 after this week. He's running the ball. I mean, Mahomes always had ran a little bit. He was one of my favorite legs of a parlay was to do Patrick Mahomes for 20 yards because he'd almost always get that. Yeah. But he has 3 of his 5 games. 2 games he barely ran. He had a 3-yard and a 6-yard. But the other 3 games he's had 57, 66, and 60. And all 3 of those big yardage games, he had a rushing touchdown with it as well. And he's throwing the ball a ton and throwing it downfield, making guys like Tyquan Thornton look like the Patriots maybe should have drafted him. But, Yeah, Mahomes, quarterback 2 on the season currently.
I did not expect that, but he's finally turning into that fantasy quarterback that people drafted him or expected of him 3-4 years ago when they had Tyreek Hill and that great offense, and they really turned to the defense, and that offense is picking back up.
Yes, sir. Well, there's our slate for the week, man. It was wild week like always. There's never not a wild week in the NFL. Crazy shit happens. Injuries happen. That's why.
Yeah, but it's a high-scoring week.
Well, winning at fantasy football can be so fucking difficult because you can do all your research and grind all the numbers and make the right trades and waiver pickups, and then boom, two high ankle sprains later, your team's lowest in points any given week, man.
Yeah. Let's briefly look what we can expect coming up next week. 2 teams on bye. We got Texans and Vikings. We got another international game in London, Jets, Broncos at Jets. We got 2 Monday Night Football games again. They love these doubleheaders. Bills at Falcons, Commanders at Bears. Your Eagles are playing at Giants Thursday night. Are they going to lose 2 in a row?
I certainly hope not. I mean, I think they should be able to handle Jackson Dart. I am worried about Cam Scatterbo just running 100 miles an hour through our entire defense, but we'll see. I think they'll wake up a little bit from that loss and be ready to play. But again, divisional game, fucking crazier things have happened.
Yeah,
I wouldn't look at anybody in that game as like, oh, you got to start them or you got to sit them. You're playing the usual guys, benching the usual guys.
Yeah.
It was nice to see last week that Devontae and AJ Brown were utilized in the passing game early in the game. They weren't playing from a deficit. They went ahead by passing the ball. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that. But yeah, Scatterbo's a start.
He's a must. No, I wouldn't say he's a must start, but there's few leagues where you have something that you have enough running backs that you're not starting him.
Yeah, he's crept into must start at this point. I mean, he's been a running back 2 multiple weeks in a row. I think he was a running back one of the weeks as well. So
yeah,
you'd have to be in a weird, only have to start one running back, or there's only one flex or something like that, and just have like a loaded lineup. But yeah, get Scatterbo in there. I don't think I want to start any other Giant in this game though.
No,
maybe Theo Johnson.
Really.
He's just catching nothing but touchdowns.
Yeah.
Desperation tight end play.
And that's if Dart plays because he's injured on a short week, so he might not even play. Which is that's he's the one who got Theo Johnson the ball.
Yep.
I got 3 games that stick out to me. I'm very interested to see how much Ted McMillan, Rico Dowdle, and Bryce Young put up against the Cowboys. That Cowboys have given up the top number 1 points to quarterbacks and wide receivers and the number 6 to running backs. That if Young doesn't look good this game, that is a huge question mark that those guys should all pop off, in my opinion, against the Cowboys.
They should. The Cowboys, I was looking at, I told you my league of record, I have Lamar Jackson. This past week, I picked up Stroud to fill in. It worked out great. But guess what? Stroud's on bye next week. Lamar probably won't play. So now I'm back at the wire looking at who I could pick up for this week. And my options were Tua, Bryce Young. And when I was looking at Bryce Young, his matchup against the Cowboys has the little green 32 next to it, meaning he literally has the best possible matchup. I also have Tet on that team, so it would give me the little stack action there. So I have a claim in for him, and I also have a claim in for Mac Jones. I think I'd probably end up leaning Mac Jones if I got both of them, but we'll see. I'm for what's on the wire and stuff, I'm wouldn't be mad about starting Bryce Young this week against that real bad defense and giving myself the stack with Tet.
Yeah. The other one that sticks out to me is Rams at Ravens. Ravens, again, have given the number 2 points to quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, whereas the Rams, despite Mac Jones having a great game, really it was 2 early touchdowns. Then they kept Mac Jones in check for the sake of fantasy play, that especially if the Ravens don't have Lamar, that is going to be very interesting to kind of see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens are so beat up. We just saw what the Texans did to them. Puka Nacua might have 11 catches at halftime. If they get up that big that fast, then it's going to be a bunch of Kyron and Corum, you'd assume. But yeah, start fire up all your Rams guys. With the Ravens, we're probably looking at Cooper Rush again. Don't start him even in Superflex.
Made the mistake. Don't do that.
Henry, it's sad to say, but in a losing game script, Derrick Henry isn't who you want to start. You probably don't have a better option. I don't think you're pulling somebody off of waivers. I don't think you're going to pull Kamani Vidal and start him over Derrick fucking Henry. But it's rough out here for Henry managers. But Zay Flowers, I'm sure you're starting him if you have him. Lowered expectations. He was actually okay, even with their shit performance. I think he had 12, 13 points somewhere in that ballpark. Zay did.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews at this point, how could you possibly be starting him? So, yeah, it should be fun. Should be fun for fantasy, for the Rams side of the ball at least.
Yeah, that's if Derrick Henry doesn't have a good week this next week, he's a prime trade target for your teams that are ranked 1, 2, 3 in the league. That again, go back to our contending matchups. He has some great matchups coming forward. And especially if that Henry owner is right outside the playoffs looking in, if you can trade him a piece, get Henry for later on, it's a win-win for both of you. Keep an eye out on how the Ravens do against this Rams team.
For sure.
And that Sunday night game, Lions at Chiefs, that should be phenomenal.
Yeah. I totally agree. Fire all the main pieces up there. Maybe Jameson Williams excluded, but who knows?
Yeah.
When you bench him, that's the tough thing with J-Mo is every week when you go to put him on the bench, you're like, oh, he could have an 80-yard touchdown. Then he'll have it the week that you bench him. But obviously, all your main starts for both sides you're throwing out there. Pacheco looked like he had a little bit more juice this past game. He didn't have any monster game fantasy wise, but he ran better than I've seen all year.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt gets in the end zone left and right though, so Kareem Hunt is a viable start for your running back 2 or flex if you need to.
Those are my games. What sticks out to you?
Yeah, man, I kind of agree. I don't think there's anything really else like jumping out. Like, oh yeah, you gotta see what they do this week. Falcons, Bills. The Bills defense actually hasn't been that great. I think Drake London should continue on. He had the big game before his bye. His far from a breakout. Drake London broke out before, but he had his first monster game of the season before that. So I'm comfy rolling him back out. John, obviously you're playing there. The Bills, I think the Falcons defense is nothing scary, so I'm not gun shy about putting James Cook back in my lineup, but that should be fun for fantasy purposes, no doubt.
Yep. Yeah, a lot. I mean, when you're looking at players, you got Monday night, you got Adunze, Caleb Williams, Deebo Samuel, Jaden Daniels, Bijan, London, Josh Allen. A lot of games will be decided Monday night with how many. Yeah, Bill, James Cook.
Yeah.
A lot of games will be decided Monday night. That's going to be phenomenal to watch for fantasy purposes.
I'm quite sure it will be like this past week where I have to watch to the last fucking snap of Monday Night Football to make sure my main matchup is decided. But yeah, man, it should be another fun week, no doubt.
Yep. Awesome. Anything else?
Nah, man. I think we can wrap it up. We didn't do our traditional news segment, but we did bring up that Joe Flacco got traded to the Bengals. It seems like the whole national media is just assuming he's immediately starting this week. But keep an eye on that. They might say give him 1 week to kind of ease in and learn the system. We get one more week of Browning. That's mainly just for super flex league purposes. Nobody's rolling one of those two guys out there. But was there any other bigger news? We did mention about Amari and Hampton going to IR, but I think that's probably the two biggest bits.
Yeah, not too much news wise. It was kind of a focus on those contending pieces. I started one year 0-5 and was able to win my league that year, but that's far from normal. Where right now you should be able to tell, especially like more dynasty leagues than anything, if you're contending or not. But in redraft, those matchups will help you understand who you should go after, because now you can kind of tell what players are going to do, and you can get some good trades off now that you're not wondering if your players are going to do something or not. The first 2, 3, 4 weeks, you're like, okay, it could just be matchup based. Now you're having a better idea that you have an idea of what to do, who to go after with your team. Maybe we'll dive a little more into it next week as to maybe specific players we'll go after. If you're rebuilding in Dynasty, what players are you trying to go after? Who are you trading, or what's your strategy? But we wanted to just give you a taste of kind of keep an eye on these people or go after these players, because now is that time of you should know if you're contending or not by now.
Definitely. One last thing I want to point out for deciding if you're contending or not, don't just look at your record at this time of year.
Yes.
You could, I'm a huge proponent of looking at your points for and points against. You might be 4-1, but if you have the 12th or 11th lowest points scored against you, your team might suck. You may have just been playing, an easy schedule. And the same token, if you have a team that looks great, you've got a lot of studs on it, but you're 2-3 or 1-4, if you have the most points or the second most points scored against you, you very well still could be a contender. And if you've played a bunch of the juggernaut teams already, you're probably going to go on an easy run here and have some of the shittier teams. So look at your points for and points against, not just your overall record, especially this time of year when you're kind of deciding if you really want to push your chips in, sell some draft capital for some studs, or if you're saying you want to push back and rebuild because you don't think you have it. Points for and points against are extremely important to look at.
Yeah, that's a great point. Look at those. Look at who you played. I'm in a league where it's a 10-team superflex. I'm in last place right now, but I'm not putting the chips in. I'm saying I'm still contending because 6 teams are 2-3, and that's the worst record. So I'm sitting in last place, but I'm 2-3.
Right.
There's 3 teams 3-2 and 1 4-1. I've played the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 team in my first 5 weeks, and I've beaten 2 of them. So I'm looking at that like a lot of people. I'm in last place. I'm not doing amazing. I'm like, I still have a chance in that just because of who I've played. I got some easier matchups coming up. I've had players on bye. I've made some trades where I've got Daniel Jones to replace Joe Burrow. I traded for Travis Etienne because DeAndre Swift wasn't doing great. Penix kind of killed me in a game or two that I made these trades. I got Pickens to pair with Jamar Chase that Chase is picking up. Like, look at your team and know who might have better matchups coming, who has yet to hit their peak. And yeah, points for, points against versus what schedule. Who are you playing the last 3 weeks of the before playoffs? Are you playing 3 really projected weak teams? Because don't forget, that's looking down the road, that's 3 free wins. Look at your big opponents and see who you have on bye and who they have on bye to see if you maybe need to make a little trade to get a little edge on the team that's ahead of you in the standings to jump them. Like, it's small things like this that you can spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes that will get you ahead in your leagues, give you that edge up on your league, make that. Just look at those things over 10 minutes and kind of see where you can guess or see what you can get.
It can mean the difference between walking away as a champion and walking away as a first round playoff loser and getting a shitty mid to late first round draft pick in your dynasty league, man. So yeah, it all matters for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we'll dive into it a little more potentially in the next week or two, even for dynasty, what redraft or what players we're going after rebuilding, and not just saying go after these guys for contending. And yeah, look forward to seeing some of these great matchups next week.
Yeah, man. So, and also apologies for all the tech difficulty. We're at the mercy of our internet like the rest of the world in 2025. So,
Yep.
I'm sure we'll be back at full strength. We'll get some technicians out there at Patrick's house and pull up that MetLife AstroTurf Wi-Fi that he has.
Yeah, and
Back at it.
Keep killing it. Yep.
All right. See you next Tuesday, folks.
Awesome. Have a great week, everyone.